Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Manfredi. My pronouns are she, her. I am the interim student loan advocate within the Washington State Office of the Student Loan Advocate. This is a re-recording of the presentation we made on July 11, 2023. Unfortunately, the original presentation was not recorded correctly, so I am re-recording it in order to make it available on our website. Today's presentation will be about an hour because we're going to be covering a lot, and it's going to help you understand how to get ready for student loan repayment. So let's get started. Today, we'll cover a general overview of the Office of the Student Loan Advocate, things like what we do and how we can assist borrowers like you. We will then move on to give you an overview of the steps you may need to take to get ready for federal student loan repayment, which will include understanding your different repayment options, understanding when it may be appropriate for you to use forbearances and deferments, understanding some of the more common types of forgiveness options that may be available to you, and some updates related to forgiveness and cancellations. And then we'll explain how you can get assistance if you have additional questions that we don't cover today, or in case you need to file a complaint regarding your student loans. We like to start with a snapshot of what student loan looks like in Washington State. I will not go over each of these, but I want to highlight that in the state of Washington, we have over 807,000 federal student loan borrowers. The numbers are higher if we account for private student loans. Our outstanding student debt balance is $28.9 billion. So we put these numbers here not to intimidate anyone, but really to try and normalize student debt as much as possible, because I think sometimes folks have shame or negative feelings or emotions that are brought up by this topic. And we want to really drive the point home that student debt is normal, that millions of people have it. So there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed about. And it should be, in fact, discussed more often so people become aware of their resources to manage their student loan debt. And because student debt is a major issue for Washingtonians, in 2018, our state legislature passed the Student Loan Bill of Rights. This law created the Office of the Student Loan Advocate within the Washington Student Achievement Council, but it also did several other things. It allows our state to enforce state consumer protection laws against student loan servicers. Servicers now must also notify annually all borrowers about our office and have information on how you can contact us in their website. And it also allows borrowers like you to submit complaints and questions to our office and get individual assistance and resources. So you may be thinking, Jessica, this all sounds great, but what does the Student Loan Advocate Office actually do? Well, we support current and future student loan borrowers by addressing complaints such as issues getting a student loan, or issues a borrower may have with their student loan servicer, like getting accurate information on their loans or with lowering monthly payments. We also create materials and outreach presentations like the one today about different student loan topics, like different forgiveness programs or repayment options. And we also educate borrowers about their rights and responsibilities so you can hopefully feel more empowered to manage your student loan debt. All right. We are going to focus on explaining how you can get ready for student loan repayment and specific steps you can take starting right now to navigate returning to repayment. But before we start diving into this complicated topic, I just wanted to take a minute to say that it is completely okay and normal for you to feel stressed and confused about this process. Student loans can be really complex. It's a complicated topic, even to people like me who work in this world. So I want to take a moment and validate that it is okay for you to feel overwhelmed by all of the information and options. For those of you who may be listening in, I have on the slide right now 2 memes. One displays a still image of Andy Dwyer from the show Parks and Recreation. And the caption says, "I literally don't know what is happening. And at this point, I am too afraid to ask." And because that show probably ages me a bit and is probably not relevant for younger people, I also include a meme of Joyce Meyer from the show Stranger Things. And the caption says, "Stress level Winona Ryder in every single scene of Stranger Things." But I wanted to invite you to be fully present while we're doing our presentation today. And know that you don't have to absorb every single thing coming out of my mouth. The slides in the recorded presentation will be made available to you so you can rewatch and re-review the information as many times as needed. We'll also talk about how you can ask us more individual questions if you need to. So let's take a moment to take a deep breath and know that we will be here to help you navigate this process if you need us. All right, so everyone may be asking themselves, what is it that I need to know about returning to student loan repayment? First of all, we really want to make sure people understand that the student loan pause is actually really ending. I know a lot of people may have questions about this because the payment pause was extended so many times, but this time the COVID-19 payment pause can't be extended anymore as return to repayment is codified into law. So it's really going to happen, folks. This means that interest will begin to accrue on September 1st, 2023, with bills or statements arriving between September and October of 2023. You should receive your billing statement or other notice at least 21 days before your payment is due. Your first due date will be sometime in the month of October 2023, and the notice you receive should specify that. And because so many people, millions, are entering repayment at the same time, you are likely to experience loan call holds and wait times for assistance from student loan servicers. So if you need to contact your student loan servicer for assistance, please do so now. Don't wait until September or October if you can help it. Thankfully, the Department of Education recognized that return to repayment is going to be a very rough and difficult time for a lot of borrowers. And because of that, they have announced a couple weeks ago what is called an on-ramp period. This period will last 12 months between October 1st, 2023 and September 30th, 2024. During this period, interest will still accrue, but it will not capitalize, meaning it will not be added to your principal balance. This on-ramp period will benefit the most vulnerable borrowers, meaning those that are not able to make payments because late, missed, or partial payments will not be reported to credit bureaus, will not be considered in default, and will not be referred to collection agencies. In other words, if you miss a payment, you will not receive some of the more harsh consequences that happen when you don't make a payment. However, missed payments will not count towards public service loan forgiveness or income-driven repayment qualifying payments. Because of this, and because interest will still accrue, in most borrowers' best interest is to start making payments so you can either continue making progress towards forgiveness and or continue to make progress in repaying your loans. There are options to continue making payments, even if you're in a financially tight spot. And we're going to talk about some of those options later in the presentation. In short, if you miss a payment or make a late or partial payment, you will not be considered in delinquency or default until September 30th, 2024. But if you're able to make payments, you're very much encouraged to do so. Now, it makes sense for us to touch on what will happen after September 30th, 2024, if someone continues to not make payments. Basically, until September 30th, 2024, borrowers that are currently not in default will be considered in good standing, regardless if they make on-time payments or not. However, from that point forward, after being 90 days late, a borrower is then reported as delinquent, meaning late to credit bureaus, which of course can affect your credit. Once a borrower is considered to be 270 days late, which is about 9 months, then they enter default. At this point, your wages can be garnished, your tax refund can be withheld, you may be ineligible for state and federal aid, your account is sent to a debt collection agency, and you immediately become responsible for the entire unpaid loan balance along with collection. The ultimate goal is to avoid all of these consequences. So if you feel that you may be at risk of being delinquent or to default your loans after September 30th, 2024, contact your servicer or servicers to explain your situation. Communication is essential, so please reach out to your servicer or to us if you become at risk of being delinquent or in default. All right, so moving on. How can you prepare for the start of student loan repayment? In short, there are 5 steps that you want to take. Step 1, you will want to update your contact information to make sure things like bills and notices are sent to the correct email or mailing address. Step 2, don't fall for student loan scams. Step 3, you have many repayment options to explore. Step 4, if you're in default, you will want to take some steps to get out of default right now. And finally, step 5, you want to explore any option of loan forgiveness and discharge that may be available to you. And we will now go over in a little bit more detail about each of these steps. Okay, so first, you will want to review and update your information on 2 different places, your studentaid.gov profile and your student loan servicer website. Now, you may be asking, Jessica, I don't know who my student loan servicer is because maybe I entered repayment during the pandemic and I never had to make a payment. Well, if that's the case, if you don't know how to locate your federal student loan information, things like your balance, your servicer, etc., you will want to log in into studentaid.gov. This website will help you view all of your federal student loans, your student loan servicer information, and use all of the tools that are available on their website. We'll talk about some of those tools later in the presentation. To log in, you will go to the right corner of the page, and it will ask you for your federal student aid ID, also known as FSA ID. This is your username and password. If you do not have one, you can click on create an account next to the login button. Once you log in, it will bring you to a dashboard. This is the landing page called Dashboard that will show you your total outstanding loan balance, your principal, interest, and a lot of other information about your loans. If you want a comprehensive breakdown of all your loans, you will want to click on the View Details next to My Aid, and it will bring you to a page listing all the aid that you have received, including both grants and loans. The breakdown of all your loans will include what type of loan you have, balances and interest rates for each individual loan. Now, on the right side of this page, you will be able to view your loan servicer information under My Loan Servicer. If you click on the link under My Loan Servicer called View Servicer Details, you will be brought to a page with your servicer's website, phone number, and other contact information like mailing address. It is good to view your servicer details because you may actually have more than one servicer. Under your servicer details, there will be their website where you will go on to create an account if needed, log in, and update your contact information. So you may be asking yourself, who are these servicers? So servicers are basically several private companies that are contracted with the Department of Education to service your federal student debt. These are the servicers that are currently in contract with the Department of Education. It includes Great Lakes, Ad Financial Services, Mohila, ECSI, AidVantage, NowNet, and OSLA. Please note that some of these servicers, like Great Lakes and OSLA, may be ending their contract with the Department of Education soon. And if you are or were affected by a loan transfer, you will receive a notice. But the information on studentaid.gov account regarding who is your current servicer should be up to date. Now, if you have a FFEL loan that isn't held by the U.S. Department of Education, it might be held by a guarantee agency. As you can see, there is a lot more of them, but you can still identify your guarantee agency, if applicable, on studentaid.gov website using the steps I showed earlier. You will also want to start thinking about your payment methods. We usually recommend signing up for auto debit as a preferred payment method. You will want to review your auto debit enrollment or sign up on your servicer's website. You will also want to double check your enrollment, even if you were enrolled in auto debit prior to the payment pause, because otherwise you may be unenrolled. You also, of course, have other repayment options available to you, like manual online payments, phone payments, mailing a check, etc. You can find out in more detail on how to make a payment on studentaid.gov. Now, moving on to step 2, you will want to make sure that you don't fall for a student loan scam. We believe that between now and the rest of the year, it is likely that student loan scammers will be trying to take advantage of distressed and concerned borrowers. Here are some signs of a student loan scam by a student student debt relief company that you should watch out for. Fees of any kinds. Borrowers should never have to pay anyone to consolidate, rehabilitate, or sign up for an income-driven repayment plan. Scammers will also usually promise you immediate and total loan forgiveness or cancellation, and they will claim that their offer is limited and encourage you to act immediately. They may also ask you for your FSA ID, username, and password, and ask you to sign and submit a third-party authorization form or power of attorney. If you or someone you know want to report a student loan scam, please know that you'll have options, including filing a complaint with the Washington State Attorney General's office and reporting suspicious activity to the Federal Trade Commission. All right, moving on to number 3, it is important to know that you have different repayment options and that you can change your repayment plan at any time by contacting your servicer for 100% no cost to you. Changing your repayment plan should always be free. It is important for you to know, however, that not all repayment plans are available for all loan types, but that in general, there are 2 kinds of repayment plans. Repayment plans that are not dependent on your income and repayment plans that depend on your income, usually known as income-driven repayment plans, or IDR for short. Now, before I break down the repayment options in more detail, there are a couple of things that you want to keep in mind when choosing your repayment options. Unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to repayment, so it really needs to be tailored to your specific circumstances and goals. For example, it is important to get clear on what are your repayment goals. For some people, their goal is to keep their monthly payment as low as possible, while other people just want to pay off their loans as fast as possible, even if it means making a higher monthly payment. It is also important to ask yourself if you want to repay your loans quickly or if you want to qualify for forgiveness. This is because most forgiveness options you are looking at anything between 10 to 25 years to achieve forgiveness. If your goal is to pay your debts as quickly as possible and you can afford to do so by making higher monthly payments, then working towards forgiveness may not be the best option for you. You also want to ask yourself whether you work at a place that can help you qualify for forgiveness, things like teacher loan forgiveness or the public service loan forgiveness program. Teacher loan forgiveness takes only 5 years, but has specific eligibility requirements like working at a Title I school, while PSLF requires you to be working at any level of government or at a nonprofit. If you meet these employment requirements, it may be worthwhile for you to look into these types of forgiveness options. Finally, it is important to ask whether you expect your income to significantly increase in the future or for whether your income is going to remain relatively the same. Knowing this can help you weigh your options when it comes to repayment plans, since some repayment plans increase your monthly payments every few years, while others, like income-driven repayment plans, may go up and down as your income increases or decreases throughout the years. So here's the list of all the repayment plans that do not take your income into account. One thing that is universal between all of these plans is that they generally do not lead you to forgiveness, meaning you will be responsible to pay the entire balance on your loan by the end of the established term. The 10-year standard repayment plan has 5 to 10 years of fixed monthly payments. There is an asterisk next to the none column under forgiveness, because if you're working towards public service loan forgiveness, some months under this plan will count as qualifying payments, but you don't want to usually stay in it long term if you're working towards PSLF, because you will likely pay off the entire balance before you become eligible for forgiveness. The 10-year standard repayment plan is best for those who, for one, can afford the monthly payment, and two, who want to pay the least amount of interest on their loans overall. This plan also allows you to have fixed, meaning the same monthly payment throughout the repayment term. The 30-year standard repayment plan is a plan only available for those with direct consolidated loans. This is also a plan with fixed monthly payments, and it can take up to 30 years for you to repay your loan under this plan. This plan does not count as a qualifying monthly payment under PSLF. The 30-year standard repayment plan is best for those who want to lower payments but don't qualify for an affordable income-driven repayment plan. In some circumstances, Monthly payments under IDR are still too high for some borrowers. And in that case, the 30-year standard repayment plan may be a good option, even though it does not lead to forgiveness. Then there's a graduated repayment plan. Payments start out low and then increase every 2 years for up to 10 years. This may be a good option if you expect your income to significantly and progressively increase every 2 years. And this plan also helps you save on the interest you pay over time compared to the extended repayment options. And finally, we have the extended repayment plans that can be either fixed or graduated payments for up to 25 years. This plan is only for borrowers with debt that totals more than $30,000 in debt. For both of the extended repayment plans are good options for those who want to lower payments but don't qualify for an affordable income-driven repayment plan, but who maybe don't want to consolidate their loans. The extended fixed repayment plan may be a good option if you want a fixed monthly payment throughout the loan term, while the graduated repayment plan may be a good option for you if you expect your income to progressively increase every 2 years. All right, moving on to talk about those repayment plans that are dependent on your household income. The repayment plans that are known as income-driven repayment plans, IDR for short. I am going to be referring to them as IDR from now on. These are the repayment plans that are in theory designed to be affordable based on your income and family size. Monthly payment amounts is generally a percentage of your discretionary household income. Discretionary household income is based on 150 or 225%, depending on your IDR plan, of the federal poverty guideline for your state. Discretionary income generally equals the difference between your annual income and 150% or 225%, once again, depending on your IDR plan, of the federal poverty guideline for your family size and state of residence. Because in IDR, the payments are based on your income, payments may increase or decrease over time, depending on your income. You do not need to recertify your income every year You do need to recertify your income every year to remain eligible, but it's important for you to know that payments can be as little as $0 depending on what your income is. Keep in mind that IDR plan may be a good option for you if you want an affordable monthly payment, you don't mind paying sometimes for a longer period of time in exchange for a lower monthly payment and or potential forgiveness. You plan on qualifying for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program after 120 payments, which is about 10 years, or you plan on qualifying for income-driven repayment forgiveness after 10 to 25 years, depending on your IDR plan and your loan balance. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later. You are unemployed or underemployed and do not want to request a forbearance or deferment. If you're pursuing an IDR plan for the purposes of eventually getting forgiveness, it is important for you to know that forgiveness under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is always federally tax-free, but forgiveness under income-driven repayment will be federally taxable once again starting July 1st, 2026. Washington State does not currently have income tax, but if you move to another state that does, that state may charge you income tax for forgiveness. So it's important for you to be aware. All right, so here is an overview of the current repayment plans available. And I say current because things are about to change in the next few months, and I will explain more in a little bit. But currently, the current IDR plans available are the Income-Based Repayment Plan, IBR, Pay-As-You-Earn, Payee, Revised Pay-As-You-Earn, Repayee, and Income Contingent Repayment, ICR. All of these plans currently go by 150% of the federal poverty guideline when determining discretionary income. Now, moving on to talk a little bit more detail on each plan. For a lot of people, what I'm about to say is going to sound a lot like word salad, which is okay. Just know that after I go through all of these, I will give you information on how you can use a tool to help you determine which of these plans you may be eligible for and which one may be a good option for you. So IBR, or income-based repayment, caps monthly payments at 10%, 10 to 15% of discretionary income, depending on when you borrowed. Generally, 10% of your discretionary income if you are a new borrower on or after July 1st, 2014, but never more than the 10-year standard repayment plan amount. Under IBR, as a new borrower, you will be eligible for forgiveness after 20 years of repayment. Generally, 15% of your discretionary income if you borrowed only before July 1st, 2014, but never more than the 10-year standard repayment plan amount. As an older borrower, you will be eligible for forgiveness after 25 years of repayment. Payee, or pay as you earn, caps monthly payments at 10% of the borrower's discretionary income, but never more than the 10-year standard repayment plan amount. Eligibility depends on when you borrowed. That means taking on loans on or after October 1st, 2007, with a disbursement of a direct loan on October 1st, 2011 or later. Under payee, you will be eligible for forgiveness after 20 years of repayment. Repayee, or revised pay as you earn, caps monthly payments at 10% of the borrower's discretionary income. Under repayee, you will be eligible for forgiveness after 20 years of repayment if you only have undergraduate debt. It will take 25 years of repayment for you to achieve forgiveness for graduate loans. ICR, or income contingent repayment, is the only IDR plan available to Parent Plus borrowers, but Parent Plus borrowers must consolidate their loans into a direct consolidation loan to be eligible for ICR. Also, monthly amounts are typically higher on this plan, ICR, than the other plans, as monthly payments are based on 20% of discretionary income. ICR will lead to forgiveness after 25 years of repayment. Now, as you can see from the asterisks on this chart, there are some changes coming our way. Payee will no longer be available for new enrollment after July 1st, 2024. But for those who sign up for the plan before then and that are currently on the plan, my understanding is that they'll be able to continue on it. ICR starting July 1st, 2024 will only be available for consolidated direct loans containing Parent Plus loans. So moving on to the future of income-driven repayment plans, we are looking at just 3 plans being available starting July 1st, 2024. IBR and ICR will remain unchanged, except that ICR, as I mentioned, will be only open for new enrollments for consolidated direct loans containing Parent Plus loans. Again, anyone in payee or ICR currently will be allowed to stay in that plan if they wish to do so, but there will be no new enrollments. However, we do have a brand new kid on the block that I am really excited about, which is the Saving on a Valuable Education SAVE plan, which is going to replace repayee. I am going to dive a little bit more on it because it is very different from the other repayment plans that we currently have, and it offers many, many benefits. SAVE, or Saving on a Valuable Education, is the newest, most generous repayment plan. Repayee will transform into SAVE. I'm going to say this again. Repayee will transform into SAVE. This means that if you're currently enrolled in repayee or you sign up for repayee now, you will automatically be switched to SAVE when it becomes available. It will increase the discretionary income exemption from 150% to 225% of the poverty line. This means that more of your income will be protected, allowing for lower overall payments. Unfortunately, the SAVE plan will not be available for Parent Plus borrowers. The repayment terms for SAVE require 5% of the discretionary income for undergraduate loans, 10% of discretionary income for graduate loans, and a weighted average for borrowers who have both undergraduate and graduate loans. The forgiveness timeline is a little bit more complicated, but borrowers with low original principal balances of less than $12,000 will be able to get their debts forgiven in 10 years. Higher undergraduate loans will be forgiven in 20 years, and any graduate loans will take 25 years. While these are amazing changes, unfortunately, they will not be implemented all at once. This summer, before the payment pause ends, the Department of Education will increase the amount of income protected from payments on the SAVE plan from 150% to 225% of the federal poverty guideline. This change means a single borrower who earns less than $32,805 a year, for example, will have a $0 monthly payment. The Department of Education will stop charging any monthly interest not covered by the borrower's payment on the SAFE plan. As a result, if you make your monthly payment, your loan balance won't grow due to the unpaid interest. Married borrowers who file their taxes separately will no longer be required to include their spouse's income in their payment calculation for SAFE, like they used to have to do for repaying. These borrowers will also have their spouse excluded from their family size when calculating IDR payments, simplify the choice of repayment plan for borrowers. And again, this is only a benefit for those that are married filing their taxes separately. If you file your taxes together, then you're still going to have to account for your spouse's income. However, some SAFE benefits will only go into effect in July 2024, including payments on undergraduate loans will be cut in half from 10% to 5% of discretionary income. Borrowers who have undergraduate and graduate loans will have a weighted average between 5 and 10% of their income based upon the original balance of their loans. Borrowers whose original principal balance were $12,000 or less will receive forgiveness after 120 payments. 120 qualifying payments, the equivalent of 10 years in repayment, with an additional 12 payments added for each additional $1,000 borrowed above that level, up to a maximum of 20 to 25 years. For example, a borrower with a principal balance of $14,000 will receive forgiveness in year 12, instead of the usual 10 to 25 years. The SAFE plan calculates your monthly payment amount based on your income and family size. Here you can see an estimated monthly payment based on income. This is, of course, for illustrative purposes only, but it gives you an idea of the types of savings you may be looking at if you enroll in this plan. A question some of you may be asking, if I apply for repay or the SAFE plan this summer, will my application be processed before I have to start making payments in October? The answer is yes. If you apply for an IDR plan, such as the SAFE plan this summer, your application will be processed in time for your first payment due date. It may take your servicer a few weeks to process your request. While SAFE will likely be the best repayment plan for most borrowers who want to enroll in an IDR plan, when you took out your loans, choosing the best IDR plan depends on a lot of factors, including your current loan type, your current income, whether you're working towards forgiveness under PSLF or IDI discharge, your repayment goals, your marital status, including your spouse's income, your spouse's student loan debt, your tax filing status, whether you're filing your taxes separately or together. But obviously, you don't need to sort through all of this without resources. You can get help picking a repayment plan, whether it's a non-income dependent plan or an IDR, using the loan simulator tool. The loan simulator will ask you to log in with your FSA ID, username, and password. It will pull your actual student loan data, balances, etc., and ask you questions about your household income, household size, tax filing status, etc. Based on that information, it will calculate for you an estimated monthly payment under different repayment plans. So it's really a useful tool to help you choose the best repayment plan for you. For IDR, make sure you enter your most updated income information for accurate results. If you decide to apply for an IDR plan, the best way to apply is online by going to studentaid.gov. Supposedly, the new application only takes about 10 minutes, which is very exciting. Your application will be recorded on the Federal Student Aid website, but your servicer will be responsible for processing your forms. You have the option when applying to check a box asking them to enroll on the IDR plan with the lowest payment plan available to you. You can also call your servicer and ask them to enroll in an IDR over the phone if you prefer speaking with someone. Please note, as I mentioned earlier, you may face long wait times, especially as we get closer to October. So if you want to call and enroll, I recommend doing so as soon as possible. Finally, if none of the IDR options or other non-income dependent repayment plans don't work for you, you may want to consider requesting a deferment or forbearance from your servicer. Deferment and forbearances are ways for a student loan borrower to raise their hand, to ask their servicer, and request a pause on their student loan payments. Deferments and forbearances are very similar. For example, usually neither times of deferment or forbearance count as qualifying payments under normal PSLF and IDR forgiveness rules. However, there are a few key differences between deferments and forbearance. A deferment temporarily stops payments for specific situations like being in school, unemployment, military service, or economic hardship. Deferments are usually a better option for forbearance because subsidized loans do not accrue interest during deferment. But the downside is that it requires certification and paperwork for the specific reason you are applying. A forbearance also temporarily stops or reduces your payments. The downside of forbearances is that the interest will accrue on your loans, whether your loans are subsidized or unsubsidized. The benefit of forbearance is that student loan servicers have a lot of discretion to grant forbearance, and it usually does not require paperwork, so it's easier to get than the deferments. While deferment and forbearances can be a tool you can use as you navigate repayment, they're usually best for short-term situations. Again, deferments and forbearances are usually best for short-term situations, things like a car breaking down, a move, etc. This is primarily because you usually are not making any progress towards forgiveness, discharge, or on paying back your loan. If you need to pick one over the other, deferments are usually a better option over forbearances if you're eligible and hold any subsidized loans. But I cannot stress this and emphasize this enough, that an income-driven repayment plan is usually a better option over deferment and forbearance if your situation is going to be long-term. And this is especially true if you are working towards PSLF forgiveness or IDR discharge. These are the different types of deferment. The most common one is the in-school deferment, in which you take while attending school half-time or more. Some of these deferments, including economic hardship, Peace Corps service, and active duty military service, and up to 13-month post-active duty military service, and cancer treatment, may count as qualifying payments towards IDR or PSLF forgiveness. There are three main types of forbearance. The most common one is general forbearance, which is typically the type of forbearance you can just call and request from your servicer. There are also mandatory forbearances, which typically require some paperwork in order for you to be approved. And finally, we have administrative forbearances, which, as the name implies, has to do usually with administrative action being taken in your account. Like deferment, a few types of forbearance can still count towards IDR and PSLF forgiveness, including AmeriCorps, natural disaster, pending IDR approval, and most recently, the COVID-19 payment pause. We are finally moving on to talking about payment options, and we're going to talk about step number 4, which is to get out of default now. There is a program going on right now called the Fresh Start program, which can remove folks out of default and make them eligible for Title IV aid that's currently in effect through August of 2024. It is a temporary opportunity, meaning those who can benefit from it should act now, but it is an excellent opportunity for anyone currently in default under student loans. It is also especially beneficial for those who are in default and looking to go back to school because of that Title IV aid being restored. Fresh Start removes the default record from the borrower's credit report and stops collection attempts. To enroll, it should only take about 10 minutes. If you want to enroll in Fresh Start, you will need to contact your loan holder and just ask to enroll in Fresh Start. If you don't know your loan holder, you can call the number on the slide to find out who the loan holder is and how to contact them. I am also including on the slide a link to the Fresh Start page, which has a little bit more detail on the program, as well as some options to do this process online instead of over the phone if you have ed-held loans. The last step, number 5, is to explore loan forgiveness and discharge options. I have here some of the most common types of forgiveness, including Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF, which forgives the remaining balance on your direct loan after you have made 120 qualifying monthly payments, approximately 10 years, under a qualifying repayment plan while working full-time for an eligible public employer. Teacher Loan Forgiveness, or TLF, which is designed to encourage people to enter and continue in the teaching profession. Loan forgiveness is either $5,000 or $17,500, depending on the subject you teach. You must teach at a Title I school for 5 consecutive years. IDR forgiveness, which we touched on earlier, which can forgive your loans after 10 to 25 years, depending on your IDR repayment plan and whether you have undergraduate and or graduate loans. There is total and permanent disability discharge, or TPD. The online application is relatively easy for this one, and you are eligible if you are a veteran who has service-connected disability or disabilities that is 100% disabling. You receive SSDI benefits, and your next scheduled disability review will be within 5 to 7 years from the date of your most recent SSA disability determination, or you can submit a certification from a doctor of medicine or osteopathy that you are totally and permanently disabled. There is closed school discharge, which you may be eligible for if your school closes while you're enrolled or soon after you withdraw. And there's also borrower defense to repayment, which is a discharge for students who feel as if they were taken advantage of by their school. Review of borrower's defense claims has been slow. Borrowers can submit them, but they may have to wait a while, I'm talking about years here, to hear a response on their claim. There are many more types of forgiveness and discharges available, though they're typically less common, but I would recommend you to review your options once again on the studentaid.gov website. I will go ahead and make sure that we have a link to the slides so that you can access all of the links that we have talked about today during the presentation. While we're on the topic of forgiveness, I did want to mention that there is a limited time opportunity available right now for borrowers to get closer to forgiveness through the Income-Driven Repayment account adjustment happening between now and the end of 2024. This is an adjustment that is hoping to correct for borrowers who were historically steered into deferments and forbearances unnecessarily when they could have qualified for an income-driven repayment plan and made progress towards forgiveness. This adjustment will allow for certain periods of forbearance and or deferment to convert into IDR payments for borrowers with 12 or more consecutive months of forbearance, 36 or more total months of forbearance, months in economic hardship and military deferments after 2013, and periods of deferment before 2013, excluding in school. It's very important for you to know that periods that you were considered in an in-school deferment, in default, and or in bankruptcy status will not count under this adjustment. Any time spent in repayment will also convert into IDR payments, including any payments made before a consolidation, if applicable. And any borrowers with loans that have accumulated eligible time in repayment of 20 to 25 years will see automatic forgiveness, even if they are not currently on an IDR plan. Any additional IDR payments a borrower may get will also count towards PSLF if they were employed in a qualifying public sector employer during that period. Loans that hit the forgiveness thresholds, whether that is the 240 to 300 qualifying payments for IDR forgiveness or 120 qualifying payments for PSLF forgiveness, will start to get forgiveness as early as this year. And it was actually announced a few weeks ago that some folks that are in this category already got forgiveness. But the final IDR and PSLF credits may not be applied, however, until the end of 2024. So a lot of people might have to wait until 2024 in order to see this adjustment applied to their account. Some people, depending on their circumstances, may need to act before the end of this year, 2023, to take advantage of this opportunity. If you want to learn more about the IDR account adjustment, I highly recommend watching my recorded webinar on the topic for more information. It's available on our website, and I'm going to have that link later in the presentation. I highly recommend everyone look into the IDR adjustment for more, because it could really make a difference when it comes to achieving eventual forgiveness on your loan, whether that is under PSLF or IDR forgiveness. Moving on to some not so great news, as you may have already heard, the Supreme Court issued a decision about a month ago to officially block the one-time debt relief, which is commonly known as the Biden debt relief. This program would have forgiven $10,000 to $20,000 of federal student loan debt for millions of borrowers who had met specific income qualifications. Under the court's rule, the Department of Education cannot implement the one-time debt relief, but the Department of Education is considering alternative ways to provide relief to borrowers. This new alternative path to forgiveness has already been set in motion since the Department of Education started a regulatory process under the Higher Education Act of 1965 to forgive loans. The Higher Education Act gives the Secretary of Education the ability to compromise, waive, or release federal student loans under certain criteria. They have started what is called a negotiated rulemaking process that is going to take a while. And while the department wants to move as fast as they can only move as fast as the regulatory process allows them to, which has very specific guidelines and hurdles. They have not yet announced what the specific eligibility requirements for this program. The program may also face legal challenges, and it is of course not a guarantee until it's fully implemented. So we recommend staying optimistic that relief may come through this action, but start making payments in October 2023 to continue making progress towards other forgiveness options if you're able to. We're going to briefly mention private student loan consolidation or refinancing of federal student loans because private companies are advertising heavily right now to draw borrowers to refinance their student loans. Please note that it is generally not a good idea to refinance federal student loans into private student loans because then you lose a lot of the benefits of federal student loans, programs like PSLF, IDR, and other types of forgiveness. It also cannot be reversed. I have had many people reach out to me in the past few months asking how they can bring their student loans back to the Department of Education. And I sadly had to tell them the sad news that over and over that this is just not possible. However, there can be some benefits to refinancing your student loans privately. For example, these companies can sometimes get lower interest rates for some, specifically people that have good credit scores and not a lot of debt. If you want to go down this route, please research the companies you're considering before refinancing. Look for things like allegations of fraud or lawsuits. But several people are able to lower their interest rates to a more manageable level. And because of that, they may be able to decrease the amount that they have paid overall for their student loans. Just make sure to fully consider your options, the pros and cons, before deciding to privately refinance your student loans, because once again, it cannot be reversed. All right, so now we're going to recap what we talked about today. So the steps you want to take to be ready for return to repayment of student loans on September 1st are steps 1, update your contact information in studentaid.gov and your servicer's website. Step 2, watch out for student loan scams. Step 3, consider your repayment options. Step 4, get out of default with fresh start, if applicable to you, of course. Step 5, look into forgiveness and cancellation options. And some extra important reminders also include only use deferment and forbearances for short periods of time. Think carefully before consolidating or refinancing your loans privately. And start making payments in October 2023 if you can. The link on this page, which once again, you're going to be able to access by going to our website and downloading the slides, takes you to the 5 tips in case you want to look at them into more details. And here's some key dates for you to just be aware, right? July 30th, 2023, part of the SAFE benefits become available, increase of 150 to 225% of the federal poverty guideline. Married filing separate can exclude spousal income, 100% interest subsidy if you make payments under SAVE. September 1st, 2023, interest will begin to accrue. October 2023, first payments are due since the beginning of the payment pause. July 1st, 2024, remaining SAFE benefits become available. 5% of the discretionary income for undergrad loans, weighted average percentage for borrowers with both undergrad and grad loans, no longer able to enroll in payee. And September 30th, 2024 is the end of the on-ramp period. After 90 days late, borrowers will then start being reported as delinquent. If you want to stay up to date on all student loan related things, from now until the end of the year, we are hoping to continue bringing Washington State borrowers webinars discussing the new changes to student loan debt happening in 2023 and beyond. Keep an eye on both of our websites, the Student Loan Advocacy webpage and our PSLF webpage, for updates on upcoming webinars related to student loan debt. Finally, it would be great if you could complete a short survey to let us know how we're doing. Your opinion really helps us understand the needs of Washington student loan borrowers and continue developing presentations like this one for you. Now, you're probably wondering, I still have so many questions. This stuff is very confusing, which you totally get. Well, if you have a specific question about your case, or maybe you would like to submit a complaint about your student loan servicer, please use our complaints and questions form available at studentcomplaints.wa.gov. Again, that's studentcomplaints.wa.gov. Make sure to select the student loan questions and complaints form. Thank you for the opportunity to present for you today. And I hope to see you soon in another one of our presentations.